Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The Raiders are resetting with a football lifer. The Sacramento Kings are open to trading their heart and soul. And as Josh Allen and the Bills keep proving, the postseason is all that matters. Today's show brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
The first-time head coach thing didn't work out for the Las Vegas Raiders, so what do? They go out and they get a coach in his 70s, a Super Bowl winning coach, a national championship winning coach, Pete Carroll, now in the building in Las Vegas, and he says the expectation is we can be good right now. We can win right now. Your boy Q from Locked On Raiders joins me right now. Q, is that just what Pete Carroll has to say? Or do you think there's something more here? Is there enough talent on this team? Hey, you get the quarterback right this offseason and they're set up to win.
That's the key right there, Peter, is if they get the quarterback right, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, look, the thing about it is, reality is Pete Carroll has a 3-year deal with a 4th year for the team option. So just say he coaches that thing out. He's got to get it turned around pretty quickly because, as you know, 3 years will go by very quickly. And so he wants to get this thing going in the right direction. Sounds like Mark Davis is going to stay out of it. It's the Tom Brady show now. John Spytek is in as the GM, and he's had a lot of success in Tampa Bay, building through the draft. And we know what kind of ball and what kind of identity Pete Carroll wants to have. So I do think with key players like a Brock Bowers, a Jacoby Myers, a Big Mike, Michael Mayer, right? I think that you could definitely have a nice starting point offensively. And, of course, Max Crosby and a few others on defense. There's a good starting point as well there, but they still need to get a lot of talent. And like you said, they got to get the quarterback position right, whether that's a free agent, a draft, or both, right? They got to make sure that they get that right. If they don't get that right, then, well, it'll be 3 quick years and probably not a lot of success.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's true. And you're in a division where you've got quarterbacks right now. Yeah. I don't know if you've heard of that Patrick Mahomes guy. He's pretty good. Justin Herbert. Bo Nix, a surprise rookie season. So they're looking up at the rest of this AFC West right now. What do you think? Because it sounds like Tom Brady has a lot of say in how this is going to all be built. What do you think he wants to do at quarterback? How does he impact all of this? Well,
I think that Shedeur is his guy. I really do think Shedeur Sanders is Tom Brady's guy. He's been a mentor of Shedeur's for a long time. He had him part of his NIL deal while he was still in school. Him and Prime are really close together. So I think that Shedeur would be his guy, and he probably would like to see the Raiders dip into the draft and be able to get him. I don't know the gymnastics that it's going to take to get there, though. Right? I mean, they're obviously picking at number 6. Shedeur looks like a guy that's going to go top 1, top 2, and it's not a deep quarterback draft. So there's a lot of different ways to get there to the quarterback position. Pete Carroll talked about it on Monday during the press conference that whatever they do at the quarterback position, they'll build the team around that guy's talents. And remember, they took Russell Wilson in the 3rd round when they were in Seattle. So I look at a guy like maybe a Jackson Dart, maybe a Russell Wilson, maybe a Dylan Gabriel, who's about as tall as Russell Wilson, maybe a little shorter. Yeah. Maybe a Jalen Milroe. Maybe that's a guy that they look at, even though I don't think he's a very good quarterback. I think he's a great athlete. I think that they're definitely going to do a lot of deep diving into that quarterback position. And Peter, the other thing about this is we're hearing about Darrell Bevell being interviewed by the Raiders for their open offensive coordinator position. I wouldn't be surprised if they find a way to bring Russ back, right? Bring Russ to meet up with Pete Carroll in Las Vegas. It's a spot that Russell Wilson wanted to be last year. The Raiders did not go and get him. He ended up going to Pittsburgh. I think the Steelers are going to try to re-sign him. But if not, I wouldn't be shocked to see Russell Wilson in Las Vegas as a bridge quarterback as well.
That would be a little spicy, considering Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson didn't always see eye to eye on what that offense was going to look like, but maybe time heals wounds. We'll see about that for sure. Does this acquisition, does Tom Brady's his presence change how you think they handle some of the veterans on this team? You mentioned Max Crosby. There has been rumors, I think mostly because fan bases like, I'll raise my hand here, the Packers, the Lions, other fan bases go, hey, that guy, can we just get him? Can we bring him over here? What are the chances they actually make a move like that to try and build this thing from the ground up?
I don't think that they do that. I really don't. Max Crosby doesn't have any guaranteed money on his contract right now, so that's obviously something to pay attention to. He's mentioned it multiple times. That needs to be addressed this offseason. But in the opening presser for John Spytek and Pete Carroll, Max Crosby was there, and he was standing in the back of the room, and he was referenced multiple times by both the GM and the head coach. Those are the type of guys that we need. Those are the kind of competitors, and competition was a big word that was said so many times, and we got to have guys that love football. Well, you know who that describes? That describes Max Crosby. So I think that it'd be a bad example if they moved him. I don't think that that's going to happen. I know Max is tired of hearing the trade talk. He says he's a Raider through and through, but at the same time, he does talk about his contract. So we know, Peter, how that goes. If you don't have the guaranteed money, if you're not getting what you feel like you're worth, and he is worth a lot of money, then, you know, something could change pretty quickly. But I don't think that they move him. I think that's a really good example of what they want in the building, and they're going to try to build around Max Crosby defensively. I don't see him going anywhere.
You can stay up to date on the Las Vegas Raiders by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Raiders on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. We're Locked On Sports Today. Coming up, the Sacramento Kings have a problem on their hands. De'Aaron Fox does not seem to want to be in Sacramento anymore. Before we get to that, one more candidate is taking themselves out of the running for Saints head coach. Super Bowl 59 is here. One game, two teams, endless possibilities. And there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action. With live betting all game long, you can adjust your bet as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. Live betting lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and the app is easy to navigate, plus knowing that you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, that's icing on the cake. One bet you can look at, $5. The NBA tonight, Kings head east to take on the Sixers. Even amid all the turmoil with De'Aaron Fox, FanDuel has the Kings favored by 7. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59. Washington Commanders offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury took himself out of the running to become the next head coach of the New Orleans Saints on Tuesday. According to reports, Kingsbury was a bit of a long shot given that he declined all interview requests while the Commanders were in the playoffs. He is, however, the third candidate to spurn the Saints after Aaron Glenn chose the Jets and Joe Brady removed his name from the running. The remaining Saints candidates are believed to be New York Giants offensive coordinator Mike Kafka, Miami Dolphins defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver, and Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator Kellen Moore. And Brittany Griner is moving to Atlanta. After having played 11 seasons with the Phoenix Mercury, Griner inked a one-year contract with the Atlanta Dream on Tuesday. She announced the move on her Instagram page, but the move will not be official until Sunday. A new era will begin in earnest in Phoenix, especially if Diana Taurasi decides to retire. Griner joins a team also headlined by Ryan Howard, drafted first overall by the Dream in 2022, and Alicia Gray, for whom Atlanta traded in 2023. The Sacramento Kings have started to spiral. They fired head coach Mike Brown inexplicably earlier this year, and now, according to reports, are open to trading De'Aaron Fox, with Fox, by the way, having a preferred destination. Locked On Kings host Matt George tries to make sense of it all.
The Sacramento Kings have had conversations, or at least a conversation, about a De'Aaron Fox trade. That's what sparked this entire thing today. General manager assistant general manager Wes Wilcox informed Rich Paul, De'Aaron Fox's agent, that conversations were being had. There is no demand anywhere. De'Aaron Fox has not demanded for a trade. Clutch Sports has not demanded that the Kings trade their client away. And the Sacramento Kings are not actively shopping De'Aaron Fox into a point where they're putting him on the trade block and saying, we want to move this guy. He needs to be gone in the next 9 days before the trade deadline. It's over. It's done with. The Fox era in Sacramento is over. None of that is happening. Need to make sure that is abundantly clear. None of that is happening. But conversations are being had, and we've gotten to a point where all sides are aware of it. Fox and Clutch Sports are aware that this was a possibility. They've been aware of this. They've been having conversations with the Kings organization for months about what Fox is looking for in a potential extension. And an extension is not dead. Guys, De'Aaron Fox has not said the bridge has not been burned. There is still a chance that Fox could remain a Sacramento King long term. I think it's very unlikely at this point. I think the writing is on the wall, and it's been on the wall since Mike Brown was fired. I'll get into that more in the next segment. But the Fox era in Sacramento is not done with. This is not the same thing as what's happening with Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat. The Kings are going to suspend De'Aaron Fox. Fox is not going to refuse to play and start sabotaging the team. That's not what's happening here. But Fox and his team are aware of what's possible. The Sacramento Kings are aware of what potentially faces them. And all sides are doing their due diligence here. In reality, nobody's really doing anything wrong. The De'Aaron Fox and and Clutch Sports have made it known that they have an ideal destination. And I've seen some people talking about it openly. I've seen multiple reports not naming that team yet. I'll say this. Think about what up-and-coming team in the Western Conference could really use a point guard to pair with a generational big man talent. If you don't know the answer to that, I don't know what to tell you. Or if to put it in emoji terms, Fox emoji, alien emoji. That's all I need to say. Again, other people are talking about it openly, who that team is. If you can go to them if you really can't figure it out. But this is a team that as soon as we even humored the idea of maybe De'Aaron Fox could be available, this is one of the first teams that everybody thought of because of what that team is looking for and a potential star pairing, right? So you should be able to connect the dots. This is a play right out of Clutch's Sports, their playbook, right? Saying a team, their client has an ideal destination or destinations to try and influence a trade to a spot where they want to go. This does not mean that the Sacramento Kings have to abide by that request or that demand. They don't have to. The Sacramento Kings are going to look to make the best move for the Sacramento Kings.
You can stay up to date all year on the Sacramento Kings by subscribing to Locked On Sports today and Locked On Kings on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, the Bills prove that the postseason is all that matters. I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy. There's just something special about being there in the moment, live in person, the energy. It's unforgettable. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills and Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs 3 times. None of them taking place in the playoffs. As Joe Marino on Locked On Bills points out, it's the playoffs that really matter.
The Bills have beat this team the last 3 years in the regular season, and it hasn't mattered. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so wake me up in January when they play again, and that's the one the Bills need. It feels so empty to me that the Bills are 3-0 literally the last 3 years against Kansas City in the regular season. One of them a pretty convincing win, and then the others winning the tight games, right? The things that everyone says the Chiefs get all the good luck. Well, it happened to the Bills the other 2 times. So it's like a game of high magnitude, and maybe if Denver makes that field goal, it's a little bit different because then it's literally for the number 1 seed. But I mean, for as much hype as there is, I mean, I'm so indifferent on this game because it just literally hasn't mattered the last 3 years. Happy victory Monday to you. The Buffalo Bills defeated the Kansas City Chiefs 30-21 and improved to 9-2 on the season, while also handing the Chiefs their first loss of the year. For the fourth time in 5 seasons, the Buffalo Bills season is over, courtesy of a playoff loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Chiefs once again are headed to the Super Bowl in a result that pretty much nobody outside of Kansas City wanted to happen. Obviously, the Bills have to figure out how to have the breakthrough because once again, their season is over because they can't beat Kansas City in the postseason.
We can't forget the Patrick Mahomes of this. He, Andy Reid, this Chiefs team, they feel inevitable in a way that we haven't seen really since the Tom Brady Patriots. And even when, let's say, Peyton Manning in his prime, if they were to beat the Patriots in the regular season, we all still believed, for the most part, at least outside of Indianapolis, that come playoffs, the Patriots were going to win that matchup. That's just what happens when you're the best team, when you are a dynastic team. There's something mentally powerful about knowing you can beat a team, but it can flip because you beat them. You beat them 3 times in a row in a regular season, and in the postseason, it just doesn't seem to matter. That can make you pull your hair out. Like, what do we have to do? We know we can beat this team, and yet when all of the money is on the table, one play we can't make, one stop we can't get, one catch we can't secure. Tom Brady scuttled a lot of potential championship runs. Patrick Mahomes, he's doing the same thing. And finally, Rory McIlroy is wondering if there is too much golf for people to watch. He said at a press event before the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, when we're growing up dreaming of being professional golfers and trying to get the best out of ourselves, the last thing on our mind is being an entertainer. When addressing all the events between the PGA Tour, Live Golf, now the TGL, the popularity of content creator-driven golf on YouTube, McIlroy said, I think there's a space for all of us, but I can see when the golf consumer might get a little fatigued. It's not about having too much golf. It's about the golf that we do have not being entertaining enough. Rory, they're going to YouTube because the PGA Tour has been lame. Sorry, the best players are not playing like superstars outside of Scottie Scheffler and you sometimes. So maybe being an entertainer, as Justin Thomas pointed out in his letter to the PGA Tour, maybe that's a good thing. By the way, Tiger Woods, maybe the greatest ever. He was a showman. We went to see him because he was an entertainer. Bryson DeChambeau, an entertainer. He's also really good at golf. That makes him a compelling character. The best ever, Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus, those guys were entertainers. If you're a pro athlete, you are an entertainer. Get used to it. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up on the next Locked On Sports Today, who's going to be dealt first, De'Aaron Fox or Jimmy Butler? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.